One of the most influential and longest-serving senators in the country has decided to call it quits. Tom Carper of Delaware announced on Monday that he will not seek re-election in 2024, ending a remarkable career of nearly 50 years in public office. Carper, who is 75 years old, said he wanted to pass the torch to the next generation of leaders and spend more time with his family. He also said he was proud of his accomplishments and grateful for the trust of Delaware voters. Carper has been a fixture of Delaware politics since 1977, when he was elected as state treasurer. He then served as a congressman for 10 years, as governor for 8 years, and as senator for 24 years. He is currently the chair of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, where he has championed legislation on climate change, infrastructure, clean air and water, and environmental justice. Carper is known as a moderate Democrat who works across the aisle and values consensus over confrontation. He has been a close ally of President Joe Biden, who also represented Delaware in the Senate for 36 years. Carper endorsed Biden's presidential bid in 2019 and campaigned for him in several states. Carper's retirement opens up a safe Democratic seat in a state that Biden won by 19 points, and the frontrunner to succeed him is Rep. Lisa Blunt Rochester, who is the first woman and first African American to represent Delaware in Congress. Carper said he supports Blunt Rochester's candidacy and will do everything he can to help her win. Blunt Rochester, who is 60 years old, has served in Congress since she is a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee and the Congressional Black Caucus. She was also one of Biden's vetting partners for his vice presidential selection process. She said she is honored by Carper's endorsement and looks forward to continuing his legacy of service. Other potential candidates for Carper's seat include State Attorney General Kathy Jennings, State Sen. Brian Townsend, and former State Sen. Colin Bonini, who ran against Carper in 2016 as a Republican. Carper said he will continue to work hard for Delaware and the nation until his term ends in January. He said he hopes to leave behind a better world for his children and grandchildren. Tom Carper's legacy and achievements in the Senate, especially on issues such as clean energy, climate change, health care, and economic growth. Tom Carper has been serving Delaware and the nation in the U.S. Senate since before that. He was the governor of Delaware for 8 years and a member of the U.S. House of Representatives for 10 years. He is also a retired naval captain who served in the Vietnam War. As a senator, Carper has been a champion of environmental issues and a leader in advancing clean energy, climate action, and environmental justice. He is currently the chair of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, where he has authored and supported legislation to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, invest in clean infrastructure, protect public health, and promote environmental equity. Some of his notable achievements include: he was a key author of the largest infrastructure investment in U.S. history. He led the Senate to pass the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, historic legislation to strengthen the nation's water, transportation, and broadband infrastructure. The bill includes $21 billion to clean up contaminated sites, $15 billion to replace lead pipes, $7.5 billion to build electric vehicle charging stations, and $5 billion to address extreme weather events. He contributed to the writing of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, 2010, also known as Obamacare, which expanded healthcare coverage to millions of Americans, improved quality and affordability of care, and reduced health disparities. He sponsored legislation that required auditors to root out waste and corruption in federal spending programs, saving taxpayers billions of dollars. He also pressed for an increase in the federal minimum wage to boost economic growth and reduce poverty. He was instrumental in passing the America's Water Infrastructure Act, 2018, and the Drinking Water Infrastructure Act, 2020, which authorized funding for water projects across the country, such as improving water quality, enhancing flood protection, restoring ecosystems, and supporting rural communities. He introduced the Clean Economy Act, 2020, which would set a national goal of achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 and empower federal agencies to implement policies to reach that goal. He co-sponsored the Environmental Justice for All Act, 2020, which would strengthen environmental justice protections for communities of color, low-income communities, indigenous communities, and other vulnerable populations that are disproportionately affected by pollution and climate change. Tom Carper has been a visionary and effective legislator who has made a lasting impact on the environment, healthcare, and economy of Delaware and the nation. He has earned the respect and admiration of his colleagues across the political spectrum for his bipartisanship, pragmatism, and integrity. As he prepares to retire from the Senate in 2024, he leaves behind a legacy of service and leadership that will be hard to match.